All right, good afternoon. One last time, welcome to PDMI East. We are thrilled that we've been able to have you here for the last couple days. Looking forward to one final session here at PDMI East with our group Bluewater, who has been the education sponsor all the way through these festivities, and Bluewater actually has put together this anchor panel, which should be tremendous. Great group of speakers. And we want to say thank you to Andy and the team for the support. We appreciate it quite a bit. One last time, we have a video from Bluewater to share. And here we go.
Familia Ramírez.
Deje el drama para las telenovelas.
Pero ahora no tengo que jugar con dolores. Me pongo Gembana y el dolor se va.
And I don't think there's anyone to visit a table for right now. Maybe at 3:30. Here we go. It's AI changes the agency game. Andy Latimer, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Tom, you guys are doing a great job. Keep up the education side. I'm glad we're able to participate and support the ability to help folks continue to learn along in this wonderful industry we're in. So this topic that we're talking about today is how AI changes the agency game. There's a lot going on in the space, if you guys haven't figured that out. I would liken right now what's happening with AI as revolutionary as electricity or the internet, because there's not going to be something that changes the way we function as businesses or as humans more than what's happening right now. And the accelerating speed at which it's happening is absolutely undeniable. If you haven't engaged in some way in AI in your business, if you're not using it now, I don't know exactly what to say. So you should just generally engage. We've got some we got some great opportunities coming up. Our panelists got some awesome people up here. Mike Stahl, former Chief Marketing Officer for ServPro, United Healthcare. He's made billion-dollar businesses multiple times and continues to do so and helps other companies now in driving some of their goals forward and helping them grow. One of the smartest minds I know. Sheilagh Bryan, Senior Vice President over of Media at Modus Direct, one of our favorite semi-strategic partner agencies on the planet. These guys do a lot of, they're doing a lot of incredible things, especially in how they're dealing with reporting, data and analytics, and how they start to look at the back-end pieces of it. And then Mike Rabinovitz, Chief Marketing Officer for Echelon, also comes from a big CPG background. He's done a lot in everything from foods to fitness to across the board. So thank you guys all for being here and joining us in the journey that we are on today. Who here has tried ChatGPT? Any crazy prompts that you recently used? Anyone? What have you used it for? Anybody want to volunteer one? How about you guys?
Yeah, so one of the things that we use it for at our agency, one of the greatest things that I've experienced is with blogs. I'm not a writer. I went to school for advertising and marketing, so when we were asked at our company to start writing blogs, me and the entire team at Modus, to help our SEO efforts, it's like, okay, but that's not my realm. I don't know how to write. And I've just found ChatGPT, it was a wonderful tool right out of the gate. Okay, you gave me the ideas. Now as a human, I can make it more, put some humanity into it and make it readable.
All right, Mike, what was your last prompt?
Oh, my last prompt. Well, I was going to say, I'll say first. At ServPro, we started using it for SEO blog writing the very first week it came out, before it really got a lot of mainstream press. And I had struggled with getting our team to be able to do scaled SEO content generation, and this enabled them to do so. We'll talk about probably plenty later. It was more augmentative, not automate. It didn't automate the process entirely, right? You couldn't just spit out a blog article and then post it. But we should talk more about it, Andy. I mean, I'll tell you, just that implementation alone drove north of 100% growth in non-branded organic search volume to SERPRO's site in a year. Just that initiative alone. So pretty good. But
So
you want to know,
I'm
because I'm
gonna-
looking up, you want to know my last couple of prompts?
I want to repeat that. AI generated 100% growth through that initiative.
That scaled SEO content generation and we could talk more about exactly how that implementation worked later, was the biggest reason for material. It was north of 100% annualized growth in non-branded organic search. So winning, against, on generic keywords. In SERPRO's, though, for people who don't know, is the #1 property damage restoration company in the country. So pipe bursts, kitchen fires, things like that. So this is winning search, not when people are searching SERPRO, which is very Kleenex-like, and fortunately, we've helped build the brand to be very Kleenex-like, but when we have to win when someone's searching for a water damage restoration company or things of that sort where we're really going head-to-head against the competition, that scaled content generation was the predominant reason, and we could not, I could not for years to get the team to find the time and resources, human resources to do it. But with the augmentative power of ChatGPT at that time, and we have now a private version of it, we should talk about as well. They could do it. They could just input all the briefs, right? It would write the article, and they would edit the hell out of it because it really wouldn't be publishable as it is. But you could do it in 1/10 the time. But you want to know my last?
I do.
So
Let's tell the secrets of your last ChatGPT.
The last
post.
one was from last night because I'm at dinner and I'm getting these texts with some of these folks here going that I am in charge of some homework help that I need to get out of dinner, move it around, move it along, get to the hotel room and look at some math work. So one of them is a deck of 52 cards is split up into 4 piles of 13 cards each. What exactly is the probability that each pile has only one ace? So there you go. That was what I texted last night, which was 9th grade probability. So I did that. And it helped. All of the combinatorics and whatever else, right? It helped with that.
Just do your own homework.
You'll have to ask ChatGPT.
It's a long answer. It's 4 choose 1 times 3 choose 1 times 2 choose 1 times 1 choose 1 divided by then 48 choose 13, so on and so forth. I can tell you all that. But one of the more interesting ones was this, Andy. Like, a couple weeks ago when you asked me to participate in this, I asked, I'm going to be participating on a panel discussion at a performance marketing conference. I'll give you the panel description, and from there I'd like some discussion of prompts the moderator could ask me and some sample responses. Obviously, throughout, you should imagine that you're an amazing chief marketing officer. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
And so we'll see if the rest of this discussion is really me or was prompted previously.
By the way, every joke that comes out in this whole presentation came from ChatGPT. We are all just avatars on the stage. We don't actually exist.
So there you go.
I actually used one recently for write a junior student body class president slogan using summer, which it came up with the one I wrote myself. Summer's not a bummer. Vote for summer. I'm like, thank you, ChatGPT, for that amazing help, right? So I think one of the things that we all think that we're coming into it, like ChatGPT, to be clear, November 30th of 2022 was the release, right? That's not that long ago. So the progression you're seeing in AI right now is rapidly, rapidly moving. But it's been around, right? It's not like any of you have ever used Netflix, which I know all of you have, every single one of you. Any one of those prompts for the shows you liked, that's AI. Anybody have a spell check? AI. Face recognition on your phone? AI. Every time you say, hey Siri, don't answer. Damn it. Or Alexa, AI is everywhere. But I think the challenge that we're faced with is we're just now getting exposed to it because some of the tech is now coming out and the capabilities are coming out. We're trying to figure out, okay, now how do we use it and how do we function with this? So a lot of the tech's out there, which is great. But remember, the biggest players in the game are already in it. Microsoft with OpenAI, you got Google with Bard, Facebook's integrated into the ad platform. So if you think you can live without AI or not understanding it, you're missing it. I believed in it so much. About 2 months ago, I was at 3 months ago, I was at a conference. I came back to the office. I grabbed the entire C-suite, all the executive leadership team, and I said, listen, I need you to go to every employee in the business and tell them they have 5 days. They have 5 days to tell me or tell you how AI is going to affect their job, or they should start looking for another job. That's how serious we are about it, because it is a seminal change in what's happening. Even the engagement, we're starting to talk, like, the change in strategies that are coming. Deloitte's wrong. This Deloitte study, it's going to happen faster than that. It's going to, maybe mass engagement, yes, but for each one of them, each one of us, that path to engagement and growth that we're going to see from this world is not going to take this long. But I think one of the questions we had, and one of the things we talked about, Mike, was like, when is the right time to engage AI? When does it make sense? Is one of the things we started to ask the question. What's the right purpose of it?
Yeah, and I think as in my shoes, I'm trying to figure out what are the right places to use it, because I feel like every day I'm getting hit up by 4 or 5 emails saying, "Oh, AI, try this, AI, try this," and it's trying to figure out where can I deploy it the best across my organization. So we've just kind of leaned in and started, and I'd say the places we've seen the most success to date, a lot of SEO stuff, a lot of blog writing that was sort of labor intensive. We can now write product catalogs or PDP pages in minutes versus weeks, which is amazing. The last 3, my last
GPT.
It's so hard to say. We use a company called Jasper, but was to actually create names. So the last 3 products we've named are coming from these tools. So
Wow.
I think there's a lot of places we can use it. I think some of the tension that we find is though, like creative is an example. I get hit up with a lot of things. Oh, AI creative, AI creative. When we know, at least from our testing and some research that I've read, that doesn't perform as well as authentic UGC content. So it's just trying to navigate the world and see where AI can be augmentative and really help amplify what we're doing, but then also recognize that there's still a role for strong creative. There's still a role for people buying media, because those tend to outperform just basic algorithms. So, but the short answer is just lean in and test where you can, and we'll kind of figure out from there.
Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there, so it can be really confusing, and the poking around and finding the ones that are effective for you and what tech stack makes the most sense for your company and for your team, because there's integrations across all levels of it. When you're talking about integrations into your finance, your reporting, your invoicing, automations that take, I don't want to scare you, but that do remove the need for certain staff. It enables you to more focus your staff in different directions, which is frightening for many, but also opportunity for many, because if you take away some of the menial tasks you have to do and you can automate those tasks with intelligence, then ultimately you can get to more meaningful usage of your staff's time and possibly cause you to hire differently. I mean, I know with Sheilagh, with you guys are doing a lot on the back end side of it with some of the reporting functions and reporting tools. Kind of speak to how that's affecting the way your workflow changes and kind of how you deal with the human element, not just the data element.
Yeah, one of the coolest things that we've done recently is our team came up with the idea to build a buyer optimization tool, which is all powered through Power BI, but the use of AI. And we use historical data, usually a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks, but we could use a year, 2 years. And we plug that into a Power BI tool with the AI, and the things that we're able to do, it's still in its beginning stages and infancy stages, but we're really learning to grow it. And it says, okay, if you reduce the rate on these 6 stations, where will your overall KPI be? Or if you change up your genre mix between sports and entertainment to 60-40%, here's where your KPIs will come in at. It will get down to specific station level, it'll get down to day part level, it'll get down to, okay, you can reduce your rate 5% here, but you could increase it 20% here to get better clearance and still hit your target KPIs. And it's really a great tool that, to your point, we're not using this to say, okay, I'm gonna go do that. But we're using it with our expertise of media buying to say, okay, well, let me think, maybe I should try a little bit of this and a little bit of that and see how results perform in the next 4 weeks. And then we learn with AI that, we can keep this data and keep it growing and use this historical data to really predict the future in a way with media and make target optimizations for our clients and really know what's going to happen as we move through the year and through upcoming quarters.
Well, and I think a lot of us in the agency world have a lot of rich data, right? We got a lot of history across brands and across time. So I think some of what we're talking about now is really being able to not only farm what's going on in current campaigns, but the opportunity to farm broadly across multiple campaigns and get predictive over time, so you can start to see trend analysis in places that you're. I got a lot of smart dudes that live in a back dark room and do data and analytics on that side of it, but the ability to go way deeper than ever before is what this is presenting. And remember, we're talking about implementations that started November 30th of 2022. This is baby infancy stuff. This is like, the way I describe it the best, when I was in a journalism and mass communications class at the University of South Carolina, and I was gonna go into print. Guy comes in, sets a vertical computer up on the screen, says, this is the future of the newspaper. This is how you'll read it. You'll read it this way. I'm like, where is the ad model? And I look at the guy next to me. I'm out. I'm going to video. Let me get the hell out of here. I should have jumped to the internet right there, right? But this is the type of moment where you're seeing the seminal change that's going to affect us at a ground level, right? Now, Mike, you guys addressed some of the legal issues that started to come in, and we brought this up the other day. Some of the challenge you face is you got legal issues on the creative side, you got legal issues on the ownership side. You want to talk a little bit about kind of the backstory of what you guys saw and what the concerns might be from a standpoint of ownership of code, ownership of content, ownership of even images, perhaps.
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. Yeah, we had our chief legal do a review of, at the very early stages when we were using GPT just for doing SEO articles, right? Understand our ownership of that. As we have bought private versions of generative AI from Microsoft in particular, right? We're really clear that we own the outputs, right?
Yep.
So you gotta, generally that's gonna be the case, but you really need to review terms of service or your contract with your provider and just validate that for you or your clients. So that's an interesting, legal piece. The other interesting legal piece, you may show sort of, creative generation, the AI generation with humans, right?
Yeah.
So like deep fakes and things of that sort. I don't know if my mic disappeared on us. Is for those who've seen maybe our commercials, our Serpro commercials, we have a main. Do you need me on a manual mic?
Grab a stick mic.
I don't know. Let's see if it says I'm on. Doesn't sound like I'm on. Okay, I'll project. We've got a spokesman, right? We have test director Rick. He is our main spokesman. He's sort of like our flow, right? I seem to be back. For Serpro. And his contract was up about 9-12 months ago, and we were working to insert, having AI capabilities to leverage his likeness, his voice, his image, but leveraging AI to produce the content.
Yeah.
And because it was about 12 months ago, which was pretty early on, I'll tell you it was, a pretty contentious. Am I coming through or am I not coming through?
No.
I'm not coming through. I feel like I'm coming through. Hello. It was a contentious negotiation with a great actor. His name's Jeff Heapy. He's awesome. But he was pretty fearful about, how would he be compensated really under a model where we've got tons of video, we've got tons of audio of him, and we could just run that through AI and produce a bunch of VOs, or run that through AI and produce deepfake video, whatever it is, him doing different things, saying different things. I didn't know how much we could do it when I was trying to negotiate that with him at the time, and so, but it was very contentious, and ultimately, honestly, we didn't come to agreement. We deferred. So the team is still working on figuring that out because, that's a real possibility to be able to leverage your talent in that way.
Yeah.
And so, thinking about your talent contracts too is just another topic that you may need to think about and try to what I was trying to do is future-proof the contract a little bit, right? So that I had all the capabilities that I may want to use in the future.
Yep.
Not knowing exactly what I was doing at that point in time.
Yeah, so the strike in LA, if that doesn't, the film industry, if that didn't tell you anything, that what they were fighting over was AI generation and usage and digital usage over time, right? So at Bluewater, we started putting our contracts with all of our talent agreements back in November of 2022 when the light bulb went on. Hey, we should probably start getting AI rights on all this talent. So that gives you the functionality and capability because there's so much you can do, right? When you start to think about, I think it leads to the creative paces and the creative places you can start to go, right? Because there's so many tools out there that'll get you. I mean, obviously everybody's heard of Sora at this point. If you haven't, I'm sorry, but I'll give you a little example of what's happening with Sora. So OpenAI Sora, this launched within the last 30 days.
Yeah, a month or two.
Yeah.
A month or two. Yeah.
So, got to get that video to play here. Challenging for me there. Wrong button. Tech. Yeah, I'm in the industry right there. Help me. Yeah, listen, I'm actually just a figment of your imagination standing on the stage right now. I'm actually an avatar. Click forward twice. All right, perfect.
Hi.
Nope. Can you play this one for me? Oh, bummer. You sure it's not a video?
AI said it was.
Long story short, we'll skip this one, but this image right here is full video on Sora. If you want to go there and take a look at it, you'll be able to see the level of animation that's happened in a year, right? So the capabilities of Sora to create and describe an image to create it. If you want to see this image, I'll show it to you afterwards. I have it right here on this device, but probably can't really project it to you. What is important beyond that is that the concept of being able to write and describe what you want to see. So one of the samples that Sora uses is like they produced woolly mammoths walking in the wild with a drone shot flying over it. They produced an entire village, an 1800s Western village with drone shots flying, like with visualizations on it. And then the human side of it, the detail it's already getting, and you're talking about a year. Imagine where we're going to be in another year. As a practical example, I'll show you this one right here.
Hi, I'm Carrie, and this is Air Doctor, the only hospital-grade air purifier equipped with advanced Ultra HEPA filters, trusted and proven to improve your indoor air quality. This room looks clean, but look at this. The filter is full from contaminated air. In fact, the EPA says the air inside your home could be 5 to even 100 times more polluted than outdoor air.
Hi, I'm Carrie, and this is Air Doctor, the unique hospital-grade air purifier with Ultra HEPA filters. It's trusted and proven to improve your home's air. This room looks tidy, but check this out. The filter's clogged up with dirty air. Actually, the EPA reckons the air in your house could be 5 to even 100 times dirtier than the air outside.
Hola, soy Carrie, y esto es Air Doctor, el purificador de aire de grado hospitalario con filtros Ultra HEPA avanzados, confiable y comprobado para mejorar la calidad del aire interior. Esta habitación parece limpia, pero mira esto. El filtro tiene aire contaminado. De hecho, la EPA señala que el aire en su hogar puede ser de 5 a 100 veces más contaminado que el exterior. Salut, je suis Carrie, et voici Air Doctor, le seul purificateur d'air de qualité hospitalière avec filtre Ultra HEPA avancé, prouvé fiable pour améliorer l'air intérieur. Cette pièce semble propre, mais regarde ça. Le filtre est plein d'air contaminé. En fait, l'EPA dit que l'air à l'intérieur de votre maison pourrait être de 5 à même 100 fois plus pollué que l'air extérieur. Hallo, ich bin Carrie und das ist Air Doctor, der einzige Luftreiniger mit krankenhausqualifizierten Ultra-HEPA-Filtern, denen vertraut und bewiesen ist, die Raumluftqualität zu verbessern. Dieser Raum wirkt sauber, doch schau, der Filter ist voll von verunreinigter Luft. Die EPA sagt, Luft in Häusern kann 5 bis 100 Mal mehr verschmutzt sein als draußen. 안녕하세요. 저는 캐리이고 이것은 고급 울트라 헤파 필터를 장착한 유일한 병원 등급 공기 청정기 에어 독토리입니다. 실내 공기질을 개선하는 데 신뢰하고 입증된 제품입니다. 이 방은 깨끗해 보이지만 필터가 오염된 공기로 가득 찼어요. 환경보호청 EPA는 집안 공기가 실외보다 5배에서 100배까지 더 오염될 수 있다고 합니다.
So capabilities to be able to now take existing content, repurpose it, get faster to the global market, implementing AI not just in the voice side of it, but implementing AI into your web platforms and being able to instantly go to market right now, happening today, go to market globally with the creative, the assets, the websites, everything ready to go. Think about the speed to market and what that means. We're going to talk a little bit more about another direction to come out. Before we do, like from you guys' perspective, what does that do as marketers? What does that do from a standpoint of how do you now start to think about attacking, strategy?
Yeah.
Well, that was pretty awesome, Andy. I mean, that was pretty good. You just mentioned this the other day, but you talked about different languages, but you've talked about ideas really, where you could, I mean, you kind of did it with British, where you could use dialects just in English, right? Where you show the same ad to a more southern audience, right? And the accent is a southern accent versus a northeastern accent versus a western accent, whatnot. And it made me think about early on in my career, being in auto and home insurance industry, and we had multiple call centers around the country. One of our call centers was in Chattanooga, and we knew and saw in the data that when we sent southern callers to our southern call center versus like our Pennsylvania call center or our California call center, that the conversion rates were higher, right?
Yep.
And everybody was going through the same script, same process, right? But there was just a comfort level with someone that was like you, right? And so we all kind of know that. We talk about personalization. But when I watch that, I think about sort of the mass personalization. Accents is just an example of that, right? And I say accents, as something, incremental to whole language translation. But the opportunity to do mass personalization, which we've, again, all talked about, we do to a degree, but is even more apparent when you can leverage that kind of technology. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about steps away from having video chat with like full AI characters having the communication, or even going down the rabbit hole of, when Mike says to customization, think about having direct interaction. Who's done a direct mail piece that put the name of the recipient on it, right? Imagine that in every piece of video content you have going out. When I say, hey, Sheilagh, would you like to find out about Medicare? Or, hey, Mike, what's your exercise plan? Like that kind of reach. How does that, looking at it from your perspective, Mike, with Echelon, like how, I know you do so much content. How does that start to play into your thinking from a standpoint of personalization, customization, like the whole journey of the customer, right?
Sure. I mean, ultimately, what we want to do as brands is make people feel like they're welcome, right? That they're included. And at Echelon, we're about creating a community. Now, imagine if we could create communities no matter where you were, right? So, one, there's probably synergies as it comes to filming. We can just film in one language and potentially translate that in across the globe. But I just think about brands are really about connecting with people. And if you can connect with someone like yourself at a Chattanooga call center, or connect with people that have the right content, that's what it's about. And so it just gives us a ton of opportunity to build that one-on-one relationship with our end user in a way that we've never been able to do before.
I think we saw it as well on the home services side of it. When you start to step back from it, you go, okay, we know that local like buy-in from consumers converts better. From a media planning strategy, when we start to look nationally, we say, okay, everything needs to be national and homogenized and usage for acceptable for all that. Now I think some of the capabilities it opens up is some of your regional customizations, where you start to get into long form and even short form, where you can start to say, hey, I have player X that's speaking in this tongue that's going to convert better, that's going to lead to a call center that also has the same like colloquial connectiveness, right? It makes a more authentic engagement. From a strategy standpoint, when you start to think about that, Sheilagh, where does your mind go?
Yeah, one of we're really heavy in the Medicare space, and one of the things we had talked about prior is what a big consideration. I mean, adults 65 and over, choosing the right insurance for them is very personal. It's a big decision. You come from a United Healthcare background, and it's something that if we have the opportunity, we advertise in local counties in Oregon, we've local counties in Ohio, and then we have Boise, Idaho. If we can make these customized spots where it really makes the customer and the viewer feel like, you know, they get me, they understand me, and I feel comfortable coming to this company because they understand me, or getting more information. It doesn't, you know, have to be, but just reaching out and making sure that we're targeting the right customer and understanding what a big decision it's making by really making these creatives customizable to the area is a huge impact.
Yeah, it's massive, right? And plan variations as well, right? Go ahead, Mike.
That's sort of what maybe what I was thinking. Yeah, I mean, having spent a lot of time in Medicare too, I mean, Sheilagh's right. That's a great example. Every county in the country has a different plan offerings, different access to providers, et cetera. And that is like the number one most critical, you know, issue for a senior. And so it goes beyond just saying, hey, Mike, right?
Yep.
Hey, Sheilagh, and personalizing it with a name. But, you know, Sheilagh's talking about, you could really personalize the value proposition, the claims very specifically. In Davidson County in Nashville, where I'm from, you could speak to the fact that Vanderbilt Health System is in, you know, Plan X, or, you know, that you're pitching, where that's not relevant to someone in Skokie, Illinois, right? So you could really, the value prop messaging that you could wrap around your creative is like infinitely customizable and relevant to the audience in a way that you could have never done before. Never done before.
Yeah, you know, we saw it with in the past where when you were with United and doing fit score and kind of carrying people through a journey of qualifying them into like a particular plan. But then on top of it, with the regulations that you start to talk about where you can air and where you can't air in that space, when you start to think about down to zip code specifics where you know plans are particularly there, that you can customize the plan options, which now, you know, there's a lot of clearance that has to happen to get many of these things cleared to run nationally, but if you have clarity locally, and you're only running it locally, and then beyond that, don't just think about TV. Think about, as you start to think programmatic, you start to think OTT, and streaming side of it, where you're starting to target into these very particular individuals that you're then able to communicate a plan that's right for them. You're even getting data sets to them that can ask them questions that start to lead down that path. AI opens that capability up pretty broad, right? The functionality of the tools now, again, very early on, but right now I can rewrite the script and put anything into the individual's mouth. Which starts to lead to the avatar side of it, which I'm hoping this video plays here for us. This is our friend Manny with Media Shop. So there's implementation that's happening right now globally that I talk about. But some of the function, here's another example of how you can create an avatar, and I'll give you the preview a little bit of it. The first part of this video is transcreation. The second part of this video is a script put in his mouth.
Hi, I am Manny, and I am the CEO of Media Shop Austria. You're surely wondering how an Austrian can speak English so perfectly, but I can do a whole lot more. Puedo hablar español también, porque soy un verdadero multitalento. Que eso es cierto, lo ve en mis labios. Mire ahora mis labios y reconocerá que realmente estoy hablando español. 我在参观研教会的时候学的中文，而这仅仅在几分钟内就完成了。当然这是对的，因为我的声音没有改变，这仍然是我的声音。जब भारत ने जनसंख्या में चीन को पीछे छोड़ दिया, तो मैंने भी तुरंत हिंदी सीख ली. Bien sûr, je parle aussi français. E ho imparato l'italiano per poter avere la mia birra in vacanza. Now that I have impressed you with my language skills, I would like to know from you whether I actually am a linguistic genius or if AI made it all possible. Of course, it was done with AI, and Bluewater asked me to tell you all about how we at Media Shop use AI. By the way, I'm still speaking German right now, and I've asked my team to take care of the rest of the video. So now I'd like to know how much you think this video has cost us. $3,000, $2,000, $1,000, or 2 beers from Andy Latimer? Yes, it's only 2 beers. I'll still charge him for 5 though. We already use this video AI to translate original English language films into German. As a result, the actors speak with their own voices in German, and their lip movements are changed so that it looks absolutely natural. The first A/B tests have been phenomenal. We had hoped that, despite the time and money saved, we would achieve similar response results as with professional dubbing. As a matter of fact, the AI actually performs 10-15% better because it is much more authentic than dubbing alone. Remarkable, isn't it? AI is more natural than real revoicing. But AI is not only a topic when it comes to internationalization. The next step will be that the off voices will be done completely by AI. This will be possible with various free voices that AI offers. But we can also do it with the consent of the speaker by teaching AI the voice of our favorite presenters. Of course, the software is not yet perfect, but it has been greatly advanced over the last 4 months alone, and it is getting better every day. By the way, we already use a dozen software solutions in various areas of our company. From graphics to trend scouting to accounting, there are solutions everywhere that help us to become better and faster. Our employees are fully committed because we soon will have the time to implement many projects that we have not been able to do so far, and that is exciting, both for the company and our staff. I hope I was able to give you a good insight into how we use AI. And yes, I just changed to British accent, just because I can. Thanks, Andy and Adam, for giving me this opportunity. Gracias por oír. 探索快乐. Crianwen me shubkamnai. Succès en affaires. Et tanta salute in vita.
Crazy, right? So imagine now creating avatars, shooting somebody once, and never having to shoot them ever again. Ever. Ever. I mean, look, the possibilities right now, we're already doing it in the voiceover side. He said off voices, which German translation into English. Voiceovers, right? We're already doing that. So in our current spots rolling out, like we have our AI voice named Frank. Frank doesn't cost me anything. Frank is I can manipulate Frank's voice deeper, harder, and go wherever I want to go with his voice. We also have Jan. Jan has a nice soft voice. She speaks kindly. All of this possibility starts to open up to where you can really start to tailor in your voiceover. I hate it for talent. I'm sorry, you're going to lose some voiceover work. Get over it. It's going to be okay. More importantly is the creation of the capability of creation avatars, right? And this idea that you can start to generate the ability to customize creative messages into certain markets. So suddenly, if I have a special or I have a hot deal, I don't have to go back to VO, I don't have to go back to shoot, I can implement that. From a CMO standpoint, how does that like free you up in the capabilities to say, hey, optimization and of creative, what does it do for you?
I mean, it's incredible, right? No longer, you layer this on top of the Soros stuff that we talked about, then I can just say, hey, take this person, put them on this product, in this environment, do it for Canada, UK, France, Germany, done. And I would imagine for probably less than I could pay someone for 3 months of work, it'll all be done. So I think it's incredible. It's exciting. It's a little bit scary.
It's scary.
And I think from a brand perspective, what I not worry about, because I think these engines are getting really smart and you can inject your own brand DNA into the platforms. But as everyone starts doing these things and going in there and saying, hey, give me a bike in New York City, at nighttime, do they all look the same? I think the answer will be no, they won't eventually. But how do we start training these tools to be part of our brand, and so we still build authenticity in the marketplace for who we are, and we're not all just this AI amalgamation that doesn't have a unique voice.
I think Mike hit on it a little bit. Other Mike hit on it a little bit earlier when you start talking about the private chats and the private building personas that understand the brand voice and teaching your AI to speak in the voice of the brand. Prompting and teaching the machine to speak like that is a big challenge, right? So, from a standpoint, are there worries or limitations, or how quick do you think this is going to move?
Oh, I don't know about that. It's all moving. It all is moving pretty quick. But to the point of sort of training it on you or your brand, right? Maybe not you personally, although it could be for you personally. I would just say from experience, right? We were working with Microsoft's AI platform, and we were training it on every form of Serpro knowledge. So our internal AI, Gen AI bot, read the entire history of our intranet site, read every communication we had. Serpro is a franchise business, so every communication of the franchise business, sort of all of the marketing collateral, our entire external corporate site, other stuff, every SOP, every what we call bulletins, which are our formal memo communications to our franchises, all of that stuff to sort of know everything about Serpro. And we were building an agent that both could be useful from a marketing standpoint, to Mike's point, right? That it really knows Serpro, right? But it was also every form of training too, right? At a franchise business, training is sort of critical. So all of our training data, the entire LMS, all that stuff too. I can't remember all the other things we probably trained it on that I'm forgetting. But its use for internal operations was super valuable, right? I think Mike talked about like product descriptions and things of that sort. Well, imagine like similarly, like a guy on a Serpro truck shows up at a site and encounters a type of loss that he's never seen before, he or she's never seen before. Typically, they'd have to wade through all of our training or internal collateral intranet site to try to find the answer to whatever problem they're facing. Well, now they can just chat with a bot that has the entirety of all of Serpro knowledge inside of it, right? So that same bot that was helpful to the guy on the truck is this same bot we were using to create all of our, say, SEO content or be our brainstorming buddy on video creative or things of that sort. The other thing I was thinking about watching, what you just showed and listening to Mike too, is I was thinking about how much this can be used. Like all sort of scale content generation has always had a human governor to it, right? So I mentioned our challenge was revolving around SEO written content, but I've also had a challenge at multiple brands scaling social content. Like that's always been really hard. It's easy to just create the normal, boring, like it's National Popcorn Day kind of stuff, right? We all create that and put it out there and just sort of fill up the feed. But what we all know, like, why do we engage personally with social? Because it's just really a different form of what we're all doing here at this conference, right? Interacting with other human beings. That really is what we want to do. And so the more brands can take on we all talk about an authentic personality and so forth in all of life, but especially on social, the more effective they can be. It's hard to do that. And this is one of the biggest things I was thinking about with our spokesman, Jeff Heapy, the actor Jeff Heapy, was being able to like leverage him and his personality in a scaled AI way so that we've got Jeff, Test Director Rick, we have Test Director Rick being the voice on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, in a way that he could come across really authentic, interesting, engaging, like a human could, more than even a brand. But he is the brand, right? But I couldn't ask Jeff to sit there with his phone every day and post something. Like, it's not going to happen. So how could I, so it makes me think that, say scaled social is another, we talk about personalization, SEO, well, scaled social is probably another big avenue to leverage this kind of technology and do things you have always wanted to do. But the human capacity is sort of the governor to be able to actually execute against it.
Well, and if you teach it the voice, right? And I think what Mike's getting at there is that one of it is the depth of the data that you feed it allows AI to learn and become more of a usable tool for you. But even in that sense, like telling it whether it's sarcastic or not. Like with SodaStream, when we did that campaign, we did an April Fool's joke that we made a fake product and got it in Bed Bath & Beyond's like website. It was the soda soap that went into your tub and put bubbles in your tub. By the way, not possible at all. But the snarky attitude that SodaStream had in the response to people not getting it was an April Fool's joke was put in from a response standpoint of a human having to feel that response and know that. The challenge of when we start to create a persona in there that's speaking in social, that's communicating back and making comments back, is if they understand the brand tone, they understand the brand personality, it starts to become an authentic matter. Right now, yes, I think all of us can sniff it out and say that's a chatbot. I'm telling you, in 6 to 8 months, there's going to be things happening that you're never going to be able to sniff out. Especially, I mean, look at where we are with video in this short window of time. So there's so much opportunity in how you embrace it and how you go down that path. A lot of tools to come into play when you start to think about it, and I'm not going to tell you which tools to use or I'm not going to try to predict to say which one's working for you, but I think you should be asking whether you have an appropriate tech stack, whether you're properly integrated back to your platforms the way you need to. Are you in solutions that start to get there? When you kind of thinking about, there's three real phases to think about it. There's the creative phase and the activation phase. There's certainly the insights and optimization and management side of it, and there's the measurement side of it. As far as the phase of actually triggering in to use these, what should be the process? What should we be looking at? What's the first step? And what, we talk about how we get people on the Echelon. The question you should be asking is, what's your first step to get into AI? How many people are using it right now? Daily in your business? I would challenge all of you who did not raise your hand to spend the next week of your life diving deep into this. It's a life changer. So lots of tech that you can start to pick up, lots of systems. Work with your team to make sure you're driving down that. Some of the pieces, audience insight data that you can get from Ad Creative AI. Albert gives you some ad pieces. You talked about Jasper earlier. Are there any softwares that you found or any systems you guys have already found that you're leaning into?
So Jasper is one that we use. It's pretty robust. We're using it kind of in its infancy right now, just so we can get all of the 20 people in the marketing team kind of having the same voice, because it's one of these things that you can sort of train, ingest it, and then that way the person who's writing the blog, the person who's writing the SEO post, the person who's doing the social post, it all has sort of the same feel. It's a more powerful tool right now. We're just trying to get everyone to do it because historically I was paying copywriters to write this, copywriters to write that, and then trying to pull it all together was challenging. Now it's just great is just go into the same tool. We can see what everyone's doing. They're writing some copy for a commercial product. Someone's writing copy over here for a residential product, right? And it all starts to look and feel like it comes from one brand.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
So it's really freaking cool.
I mean, I'm with you. We're with Jasper as well, and using Jasper as one of our platforms. And I said I don't recommend platforms. I just recommended a platform. But the tech side of it, experiment with it. Go in and try the platform out and see how you can start to see the usefulness of it. And there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them popping up. The key, and I think we talked about, was some of the questions that we had initially is it how much of it is automated, how much of it needs human engagement, and how important is maintaining human engagement in the process?
Yeah. I would say, well, going back to your question about what we use a lot of Microsoft AI, as you had mentioned, Mike. But we use it in our reporting too. So not only are we using it with our attribution analytics, but also just our reporting build, which has been a tremendous time saver. But at the end of the day, we're using AI to pull out optimizations and call outs from performance, weeks and months prior. But we still have a human element to it where we're reviewing these reports as a media team before they go out the door to the client, because it's not a perfect science yet. There's things where it's not calling out the right station or not knowing what we know as media buyers. It's not using that. So I think there's our hands are still heavily involved in it. Time saver for sure. But definitely, I don't see us saying, oh, we can just put the report together and send it off to the client and it'll be good. Yeah.
I think the anomaly of the big event, right, when it comes to media and the reporting side of it, AI reporting tools can't tell you, hey, it can to some degree, but it can't tell you there was a storm in St. Louis. It's not going to tell you. It's not going to figure out why particular spaces or particular markets were off in your response or off in your data. So you have to also be smart and remember human connection. And same thing too with Jasper. Jasper has some functionality where you can create campaigns that are self-optimizing, right? If you're not inserting an expert in the middle of that at some point to say, why is it testing out this way and saying why I should change these folks, you may end up going away from key message points that you know are of more value long-term to the brand, or because it may be optimizing towards response only as opposed to long-term brand vision. So I think there's some challenges you face in there.
One of the things I was thinking about just listening to you guys is we should talk about, we're talking about how much all of this technology can facilitate things you couldn't do before, or you could do some things you could do before, but a lot faster. You know, I think we should talk about still the importance of the humans in this whole process. We are alluding to it in a lot of ways, right? You know, that the output of some of these...
Humans are important?
That's what I'm saying, Andy. You may or may not agree, but I'm going to say this. So, you know, Sheilagh just talked about it, right? Like the output of the analytics tools or output of copywriting tools, whatnot, right? You know, takes a once over or more so, right? It certainly takes a human to write a really good prompt, right? You know, I'll say we were first starting with doing the SEO article work. You know, that briefing that you would typically give to a copywriter, you know, if it's a really well-written briefing, you know, a real copywriter would have done a better job. Well, the AI does a better job, right? So that's still the human doing the briefing. The analogy I think a lot about is, you know, a powerful calculator in the hands of like a physicist is going to do more than in the hands of a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it's the same with all of these things, right? You know, so a powerful set of AI tools in the hands of a really competent, well-trained, well-educated, experienced marketer is going to do better at making creative or doing analytics or doing whatever topic we're talking about than in the hands of a novice.
Yeah, it's not set it and forget it, for sure.
It's not, and too often, I think sometimes with MarTech, if this is sort of, you know, all this AI is a version of MarTech or it's being embedded in MarTech, like it can be easy to think, well, if I only buy this add-on from Salesforce or something, right? I buy Marketing Cloud, it's just going to solve everything for me. That's going to solve all my... And you forget sometimes, at least I can speak for me, sometimes you always have to remind yourself when you're making these investments of investing in your people about how to leverage them in a way that fully, you know, extracts the value from these things. So anyway, I wanted to put in a plug for the people part, if that's all right.
Listen,
Andy.
I'm all for the people.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. But to me, it's about, the tools are about efficiency as much as anything. Like at Bluewater, we built the business around putting the tools in place to be highly efficient at creating content and optimizing content, and to allow that to affect it from our creative standpoints and drive what we start to see in the data and analytics to be able to respond to it quickly. So putting all the tools in one place gives us the capability to move faster. I think AI is the absolute accelerator of efficiency, and it's not 10x, it's not 100x, it's 10,000x. When you start to think about how fast this is moving and how fast it's going to be, it should scare the hell out of all of us a little bit, honestly.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Because in 6 months, the tech, as fast as it's moving, the capabilities are wow. But efficiency for me is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Human efficiency in the end.
Yeah, for sure. Right? Augmenting, accelerating, scaling. What the strategies, the ideas that that come out of our heads is super powerful.
Yes.
Super powerful.
And data and analytics, to that point, I mean, some of the predictive nature of it when you start to think about being able to deal with mass data models, right? You got to have some really smart dudes sitting in the back rooms to figure out some of these mass data models, right? The tech that's now available to shorten the analysis of getting, category predictability, being able to tell you that this type of product works in the senior category, this type of product works in these type of networks, being able to see predictive, and then also to be able to drive that data that you're pulling back into implementation on the backside of it with all of your platforms, whether you're going search, social, everywhere.
But I think one thing that you said, it's scary. For me, I never pay much attention to the competition because I think you should be focused on what you do well and just go after it. This is the one area where I get concerned. If my competition figures this out faster than I can, how quickly will they get ahead? And that is what keeps me up. And it's like, I'm not a data scientist. I don't even know why I'm sitting on the panel sometimes because I'm not an AI expert, but I'm trying to figure out how to use it. And I know other people in my position are also trying to figure out how to use it. And so that is, I think, the scary part is who's going to figure out first how to harness it. And then, like you said, if it's 10,000x productivity, they're going to get ahead fast. And so what are we doing to make sure that we're the ones harnessing it first so we get that advantage?
I would say some of the challenge there is obviously that you have to embrace it because it's all new. I mean, how many people you know have been in an AI for 10 years?
The guy who wrote spell check, I guess, right?
Yeah, maybe the guy, like, how many of you have been in marketing for 10 years? All right, yeah. Like, you can raise your hands, many people in the room. But this is very, very on the edge. And when I say it's as disruptive as electricity and disruptive as the internet, embrace would be my advice.
When you say that real quick, Andy, I'm thinking of your earlier comment that you had to your team, which was go back in the next 5 days, figure out how you're going to leverage this in your job. You then had a little harsh comment, otherwise you should
I wanted to
leave
scare him a little bit.
But I know that was for effect. It wasn't for anything other than that. It makes me think a little bit, and your analogy with electricity and the internet is, to some degree, electricity and the internet have faded into the background of our life. Like, it's just woven into our lives in such a way that you really don't think about it, right? Yeah. You only think about it when the power goes out, right? But you otherwise don't think about it. And so it makes me think about, the relatability to your comment to your team is that the challenge is for really everybody to figure out how to sort of weave these tools, these capabilities into the work they do every day in a really natural, organic way that it's not burdensome. It's not a strategy you have, it's just what you do every day. And so how to sort of rethink about it, your role and your team's roles and your team's roles and so forth in a way that just sort of, I think that's what your point to your crew was that this should just be part of our lives.
Yeah,
right?
I wasn't looking to fire anybody.
I know,
I know that. My point was I wanted them to
5
feel.
days.
Yes, 5 days.
Just leave it.
I wanted them to feel the urgency of what is upon us, and I want all of you to feel the urgency of what is upon us. And I want this industry to feel the urgency of what is upon us. If we are not embracing this, it will run right past you. So let me say this, because we're just about out of time. I do want to open it for questions if anybody wants to stay around for a couple minutes. I want to thank you guys for joining me and having a conversation and hopefully giving you guys some insight as to where some of the tech is, where the opportunities are, and really having an open discussion about when do you AI, when do you not AI, what's the purpose of it, why? Any questions from the audience that are out there?
How you doing? Michael Weinstein. Great panel. So I just logged into ChatGPT to ask it what question I should ask you guys. And it came back and it said, server busy, try again later. So I came up with my own question, I guess, which is, how cognizant do we have to be as users of the AI chats and all the tools about unintentionally plagiarizing? Whether it's imagery that might accidentally use logos or copy for landing pages and so forth.
That's a great question. From Bluewater side of it, and the creative side of it, you have to be aware. But if you're using a private chat and you've broken into a private chat, then theoretically you're owning the output of that chat, right? And then I think from a content side of it, just like as a producer or director or any creative you're putting out there, yes, it might spit out great words and you may end up using those in your video content or whatever, and you may implement some of that into scripts that come across, but you still need to cover your ass. You still need to check and make sure that you're not stepping on that. From a legal standpoint of whether you own it, I think we talked about it a little bit, that we feel fairly confidently that if you create it in a private chat, or now obviously ChatGPT is open. So if you're using an open platform, don't think you're protected. But if you're in a private setup, in a private chat, or private AI function that you should have protection in owning that content.
That's a great question. Honestly, I had not thought about that question. I'll just be honest about it. I think Mike was your name too. There you go. Good name. There's 3 mics at least here. And 1 here. Boy, the thing I think about is because even if you get a private version of these AIs, the starter version of them is trained on the world of the internet. So it's going to all additively learn about you, right? You're going to train it on your own stuff, right? But it will already know the world of the internet, which puts it at risk for plagiarizing, right? That's the plagiarism risk. This is the idea I have like on the fly, is there are plagiarism AIs, right? And so I wonder whether there's plenty of AIs that are monitoring other AIs, right? In a sense, right? For fraud, for other things, right? Why not, is the answer to your question is to use a plagiarism AI and run your content that you made, off of whatever your originating AI is, which with potentially, human editing or some version on top of it, run it through another AI that does a check. That would be, potentially an idea. On the other hand, it just may be a risk you and your chief legal or whatever may have to accept some level of risk. Even with human copywriters, we all have in the back of our head, multitudes of content that we have seen over our life and is somehow influencing, probably to some degree, the ideas we put on a page, tomorrow. And so there's some risk of that already, but that's my best idea, is like use an AI to check the AI.
You may want to consider some trademark search and trademark and copyright on that side too. And I'm sure if there's not a bot that does it, there will be a bot soon enough. Besides, Michael, this is an entire industry of copiers. Come on, everybody's copied everything in here at some point, right? There's nothing new.
Max Van Heel from Pacific Media Technologies. Andy, you addressed earlier, you had to take a look at your talent contracts. How are you addressing that? I mean, the example you had up there where the guy is speaking in multiple languages. I mean, do you address that with your on-air talent now? Using their image and likeness in AI?
So there's a couple of ways that we look at it, right? From a testimonial standpoint, there is a line in all the testimonial agreements that is non-negotiable, that gives us the right to AI or and the wording, I would advise you to get your own attorneys to look at the wording because I'm comfortable with mine, but the AI having the ability to manipulate or electronically manipulate the voice, including placing other words inside in your image. So there's some key language you need to put in there from that standpoint side of it. And then on the celebrity talent side or the more professional talent side, we look at it and we ask for a right to manipulate AI up to a certain amount of length of copy and or for a number of iterations. And then anything beyond that, we also sometimes have structured deals in a third way that offers a fee for a digital alteration versus a live session. So there's a couple ways you can deal with it. I think even from the standpoint, and because when you talk about duplication, customization, distribution, there's some benefits now of being able to take the actual voice in the spot and use that for the 800 number, use that for the call outs and the calls to action that sometimes are customized differently. We all know that, or we don't all know, but we do know that that having the voice that's integrated in the spot does lead to better conversion when they ask for the number. So there's capabilities in there. So for us as creators, we need to make sure that we're just building into our contracts those authorizations and those rights to be able to manipulate for certain purposes and to set limitation in some way.
All right, last one before we close out the official session. I'm sure they'll be here to answer more after that, but Joe, you get the last crack.
That was a great panel. Thank you very much. We saw examples of how AI can impact creative and production, and I guess my question is for Sheilagh, representing an ad agency. What opportunities do you see existing to change how you do your day-to-day business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm really excited, I think, as I mentioned kind of at the top of the panel, about this buyer optimization tool that we've built. It's rolled out in the last three to 6 months, I'd say. But the potential for it is really, really exciting. I think so. Right now, we look at kind of spend categories, but I think the granularity that we're going to be able to get with it, with, you know, if I spend more in entertainment genres, or even if I lean more heavily into a female viewer versus a male viewer versus, you know, looking at that adults 25 to 54, we know that that's a general targetization of a demographic, but can we say, you know, what if we just target 25 to 30-year-olds? What is that going to do for our KPIs? And the ability, these are optimizations that we're seeing in real, not in real time, but we're able to get them right away, rather than going into our database, like you mentioned, and pulling, having our analytics team pull historical data for, you know, the past 2 years. We can go into this dashboard and just say, okay, I want to select 25-year-olds, women on Game Show Network. What is that KPI going to generate for me based off what I've done in the past? And I think we'll have to use the human touch. We're not going to just lean on it, but
yeah, Mike.
Yeah, but it's a great future, and it's really, really exciting to see, you know, what path that's going to go down.
I think to that point, it puts the control in the hand of the buyer or the strategist, because now you have access to be able to do your own analysis, and you have access to be able to go quicker into it. Same thing from a producer and director and creative side, right? I mean, we're a full service agency on our end, but for me to be able to look at it and be able to see what the response data is and see what the data that's coming back to the particular demographic, and then be able to go back in and not have to go back to shoot or to my editors or to anyone to be able to change the content, but for me to be able to sit down and rewrite what that script is saying and have it effectuated inside the content immediately, means I can customize and segment and create segmentation for our media teams and our media partners to be able to create better segmentation and better targeting quickly, and give you more opportunities of success and to optimize inside smaller windows of audience, right? So we know certain networks skew certain ages. We know other places. The message may need to be different in those markets, and the ability to customize through AI creatively to respond to what the data is telling us and what the predictive nature of it's telling us gives us a capability to improve campaigns at a level that's never existed. It just hasn't been available yet. All right.
Join us. How about a round of applause for the group?
Thank you, guys.